The support ultimates were better, and the Dallas Fuel still came up. The winners, Notes bomb, enough field.
Coming in.
They have the touch.
He's coming, take it down in midair. They cannot tag it. Dallas Fuel, they take it home.
This is ESPN ESPORTS. I'm Arda Ocal in Bristol, Connecticut. We got Emily Rand in Los Angeles talking Overwatch League off-season as we lead into the homestand season, a monumental season for Overwatch League Season 3 upon us. We'll talk about the league and the structure in a second. Let's dive into free agency. Lots of new faces on lots of new teams, Emily. First things first, the battle for Texas looks to be heating up a lot. Dallas has picked up Gamsu, Decay, and Doha, but the Houston Outlaws also making big acquisitions with Meko and Blase, Hydration, Repel. I mean, we got some new faces here, and it looks like I don't know who to call in the Battle of Texas here. Do you have a clear favorite going into 2020 here?
I'm really curious about both rosters. I think the Fuel changed fewer pieces, and I also think they're a little bit more used to running a hybrid lineup, despite the fact that they've had, compared to expectations, let's just say two pretty disastrous seasons, like compared to fan and just general community expectations. I'm really curious to see Gamsu and Note reunited because if people remember, Note was the off-tank that they picked up kind of towards the end of last year, and they're really close, so I think there's that built-in synergy there. Decay is obviously really talented. I'm gonna give the edge to the Fuel, but it's gonna be really interesting because, again, Overwatch is something that really historically has relied on being consistent through meta shifts, but also having really good teamwork and communication. And that's something that Houston was previously known for, but they have some big changes to their lineup, right? So they're not going to be able to rely on that anymore. And I'm really curious to see how they handle that, especially in having what is essentially going to be a hybrid lineup going into this year. So I'll give the edge to the Fuel, but every time I pick Dallas, they lose. This is going to be interesting.
I don't think Hastro wants to hear that, Emily.
No, he doesn't.
What I also find interesting are the the more popular names, at least in North America, for the Houston Outlaws, right? You have Raucus, and you have Jake, and you have Dante, and there have been acquisitions by the Outlaws in each of those positions. So, in your opinion, what happens to these players? Will we see some changes, maybe battling for top spots, maybe some players going elsewhere? What do you think is going to happen there?
I mean, I think, and I can't say this definitively, but I think that the San Francisco Shock and the way that they were able to put together their hybrid lineup and rotate players in and out when they needed to actually really affected the way that teams looked at rosters. They were kind of able to do what other teams had previously tried to do and fail. And I don't know if another team is going to be as successful at it as the Shock, but I think when you look at what made an Overwatch League team successful last year was that, right? The ability to withstand dramatic meta shifts, the ability to be able to trade players in and out without having this incredible friction when you weren't going to be the starting player. And that's something that's very difficult to do. So Houston kind of had their work cut out for them in that regard, right? Because again, this is a team that previously were we're sticking to our lineup, we're gonna rely on our cohesion and our prior synergy, and that is going to be different this year because they made these changes to the lineup. So I'm really curious to see how the team staff actually ends up handling it.